The silent boundary. The deep space monitoring facility floating in Earth's orbit hummed with quiet activity. Dr. James Okonkwo sat at his console, reviewing data streams from the network of satellites positioned throughout the solar system. It was another routine night shift, or so he thought. The numbers on his screen suddenly flickered, showing an irregularity in the cosmic background radiation that shouldn't exist. James leaned forward, his dark eyes narrowing as he studied the pattern. For 15 years, he had been analyzing space data, and never had he seen anything like this. The radiation formed a perfect sphere around the entire solar system, too precise to be natural. His fingers moved quickly across the keyboard, running diagnostics to ensure his equipment wasn't malfunctioning. Everything checked out perfectly. The anomaly was real. "Dr. Okonkwo, are you seeing this?" The voice of Elena Vasquez crackled through his headset. She was stationed at the lunar observation post nearly 400,000 kilometers away. "I'm seeing it," James replied, his voice tight with tension. "Run a full-spectrum analysis. I need to know what we're looking at." Within the hour, every major space agency on Earth was alerted. The discovery was unprecedented. What James and Elena had found was not just an anomaly, but evidence of technology far beyond human capability. A barrier of some kind surrounded the solar system, extending past the orbit of Neptune. It had been there for so long that humanity had never known a universe without it. Dr. Li Wei, the director of the International Space Research Consortium, called an emergency meeting. Scientists, military advisors, and government officials gathered in a secure conference room in Geneva. The screens around them displayed the data collected from multiple sources, all confirming the same impossible truth. "Ladies and gentlemen," Li Wei began, her voice steady despite the weight of what she was about to say, "we have discovered that Earth has been enclosed within an artificial barrier for an unknown period of time. This barrier has been containing all electromagnetic radiation we've sent into space. Every radio signal, every television broadcast, every attempt to communicate with potential alien civilizations has been trapped inside this sphere." The room erupted in shocked voices. A military general stood up, his face red with anger and confusion. "Are you telling us we've been prisoners this entire time? That someone or something has been keeping us locked in our own solar system?" "We don't know yet," Li Wei answered calmly. "What we do know is that the barrier is failing. Our analysis suggests it's some kind of ancient technology, possibly millions of years old. It's been degrading slowly, but the decay rate has accelerated dramatically in recent years." James Okonkwo stepped forward, pulling up a holographic display. "Based on our calculations, the barrier will collapse completely within 6 months. When that happens, every signal we've ever transmitted will burst outward into the galaxy simultaneously. It will be like firing a flare into the darkness. And whoever built this barrier will know it's failed." Elena added from her remote connection, "They'll come to investigate." The implications settled over the room like a heavy blanket. Humanity was not alone in the universe. They had never been alone. Someone had put them in a cage, and now that cage was breaking open. In the weeks that followed, the world transformed. Governments struggled to maintain order as news of the discovery leaked to the public. Some people celebrated, believing this was the moment humanity had been waiting for. Proof that intelligent alien life existed. Others feared what might come when the barrier fell. Religious leaders debated the theological implications. Scientists worked around the clock to learn everything they could about the barrier technology. Commander Rachel Torres stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned Earth Defense Station Alpha, humanity's first military installation designed specifically for potential alien contact. She was a veteran of numerous conflicts on Earth, but nothing had prepared her for this. Her crew of 200 represented 30 different nations, all working together for the first time in history with a common purpose. "Status report," she ordered, her eyes scanning the holographic displays showing the positions of Earth's hastily assembled defense fleet. "All vessels are in position." "Commander," her tactical officer reported, "we have 20 combat-capable ships spread throughout the inner solar system. It's not much, but it's what we could build in time." Rachel nodded. She knew their defenses were primitive compared to what might be coming. Human spacecraft could barely reach Mars in a reasonable time frame. Whatever civilization had built the barrier could probably cross the galaxy. But humans had never been ones to surrender without a fight. Meanwhile, in a small laboratory in Tokyo, Dr. Kenji Yamamoto made another crucial discovery. He had been studying the barrier's energy signature and found something extraordinary. The technology wasn't just containing electromagnetic radiation, it was also suppressing something else. Quantum fluctuations that should exist naturally in space were being dampened within the barrier. "It's like a cosmic muffler," he explained to his colleagues via video conference. "Whatever built this didn't just want to keep our signals in. They wanted to keep us quiet in every possible way. They were hiding us. Hiding us from what?" someone asked. Kenji's expression grew serious. "Or hiding the galaxy from us. What if we're the danger they were protecting against?" The question haunted humanity's leaders. Earth was a violent world compared to what they imagined peaceful alien civilizations might be like. Humans had spent millennia fighting wars, competing for resources, struggling against nature itself. What if the galaxy looked at humanity and saw only threat? Ambassador Chen Zhou, appointed as Earth's first interstellar diplomatic representative, addressed the United Nations with a message of hope. "We have been given a unique gift," she said, her voice carrying across the assembly hall. "We developed as a species in isolation. We learned to cooperate without outside guidance. We reached for the stars knowing we might be alone. That independence, that determination is our strength. When contact comes, we must show that humanity has evolved beyond our violent past." But not everyone shared her optimism. In military bunkers, generals planned for war. In corporate boardrooms, executives calculated how to profit from potential alien technology. In homes around the world, families held each other close, uncertain what the future would bring. James Okonkwo continued his observations, watching the barrier decay in real time. He had discovered something else, something he hadn't yet reported. The barrier wasn't just failing randomly. It was sending out signals as it collapsed, automated distress beacons calling out into the void. Someone would answer. The only question was when. On a research station near Jupiter, a team of xenobiologists prepared first contact protocols. They had no idea what alien life might look like, how it might communicate, or what its intentions might be. All they could do was create frameworks for every possible scenario and hope they had guessed correctly. Dr. Sarah Nkomo led the team. Her expertise in cross-cultural communication suddenly applied to an entirely new challenge. "We have to assume they think differently than us," she told her team. "Their logic, their values, their entire way of understanding reality might be completely alien. We need to be ready to adapt." As the months passed, the barrier grew weaker. Astronomical observations that had always been slightly distorted suddenly became clear. Humanity saw the universe as it truly was for the first time. The stars were different, brighter, more numerous than they had appeared through the barrier's interference. And then the signals started arriving. At first they were faint, barely detectable. Radio waves from deep space, artificial in origin, responding to the barrier's distress calls. Within days the signals grew stronger, multiplying. Dozens of sources, then hundreds, all converging toward Earth's solar system. They were coming. Commander Torres received the alert in the middle of the night. She rushed to the bridge of her station, pulling on her uniform as she ran. The tactical displays showed multiple contacts entering the outer solar system, moving at speeds that should be impossible. "How many?" she demanded. "We've counted 47 distinct vessels so far, Commander," her sensor officer reported. "More are arriving every hour. They're maintaining position at the edge of the Kuiper Belt, approximately 50 astronomical units from Earth." Rachel felt her heart pounding. This was it, the moment that would define humanity's future. She opened a channel to Earth Command. "Alert all defense forces. This is not a drill. We have contact. Multiple alien vessels have entered our solar system." Across Earth, alerts sounded. Billions of people looked up at the night sky, knowing that somewhere beyond their sight humanity was no longer alone. The cage that had surrounded them for countless generations was finally breaking open. And waiting on the other side were beings who had questions about why Earth had been locked away. James Okonkwo sat at his console, watching the final sections of the barrier dissolve. 200 years of radio signals suddenly burst outward, spreading across the galaxy at light speed. Earth's music, its television shows, its desperate messages to the stars all released at once. The aliens would hear humanity's voice for the first time. They would hear humanity's wars and peace treaties, its art and science, its hope and fear. They would hear everything that made humans human. "Here we go," James whispered, watching the last fragments of the barrier fade. They'll know we exist now. Really exist. The universe had finally noticed Earth, and Earth was about to learn why it had been hidden for so long. Breaking. Through the silence. The alien fleet held position at the edge of the solar system for 3 days. No communication came through. No threats, no greetings, nothing. The silence was worse than any message could have been. Humanity waited, watching the 47 vessels through every telescope and sensor array available, trying to understand what came next. On Earth Defense Station Alpha, Commander Rachel Torres barely slept. Her crew worked in rotating shifts, maintaining constant vigilance. The alien ships were unlike anything humanity had imagined. They weren't sleek or aerodynamic. They didn't need to be in the vacuum of space. Some were geometric crystals that refracted starlight in impossible ways. Others appeared organic, like massive creatures floating through the void. A few defied easy description, shifting forms that hurt to look at for too long. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission," her communications officer announced suddenly. "It's coming from the largest vessel. The signal is encoded, but our AI is translating it now." Rachel straightened in her chair, her hands gripping the armrests. "Put it through." A voice filled the bridge, layered and strange, as if multiple beings spoke in harmony. The translation was imperfect, but the meaning came through clearly enough. "Inhabitants of the quarantined world, we are the guardians of the Galactic Assembly. Your containment barrier has failed. We have come to assess your status and determine if you pose a threat to civilized space." The words hit Rachel like a physical blow. Threat, quarantined. These beings had locked humanity away because they considered Earth dangerous. "This is Commander Rachel Torres of the Earth Defense Forces," she responded, keeping her voice steady. "We request formal diplomatic contact. Humanity wishes to establish peaceful relations with the Galactic Assembly." There was a pause, longer than the communication delay should account for. When the voice returned, it carried what might have been surprise. "You speak with remarkable calm for a species from a Class 7 death world. This is noted. We will send representatives to your primary world. Prepare a location for landing. Any act of aggression will result in immediate quarantine reestablishment protocols." The channel closed. Rachel exhaled slowly, realizing she had been holding her breath. Death world. They had called Earth a death world. Within hours, the United Nations designated Geneva as the landing site. The world watched as a single alien craft separated from the fleet. A sphere of flowing silver that descended through Earth's atmosphere without any visible propulsion system. It settled in a prepared field outside the city, and for several long minutes, nothing happened. Then the sphere opened like a flower, and they emerged. The first alien to step onto Earth's soil was tall and slender, covered in iridescent scales that shifted colors with each movement. It had 4 arms and walked on 2 legs that bent differently than human legs. Its head was elongated, with multiple eyes arranged in a pattern that suggested it could see in all directions simultaneously. Behind it came others, each more different than the last. A being made of interconnected crystal fragments that hovered in a roughly humanoid shape, something that resembled a massive, intelligent octopus moving on land through means no one could quite understand. A creature that flickered in and out of visibility, as if it existed partially in another dimension. Ambassador Chen Zhou stepped forward to greet them, flanked by security but projecting confidence. She had prepared for this moment, though no amount of preparation could truly ready someone for meeting alien intelligence. "Welcome to Earth," she said, her words being translated by technology the aliens had provided. "We are honored by your presence and eager to understand our place in the galaxy." The scaled alien regarded her with what might have been respect. When it spoke, its voice was surprisingly gentle. "I am Coordinator Zelthax of the Galactic Assembly. I speak for the collective civilizations that govern peaceful space. Your world has been isolated for 3,000 of your years. This was not done out of cruelty but necessity." "Why?" Chen asked the question that all of humanity wanted answered. "Why were we locked away?" Zelthax gestured with 2 of its 4 arms, and a holographic display appeared in the air between them. It showed a planet beautiful and green but somehow wrong. The gravity readings were displayed, showing force far stronger than Earth's. The atmosphere was thicker, the weather more violent. Massive creatures moved across the landscape, each one a predator or prey in an endless struggle for survival. 15,000 years ago, a species from a world like this one reached the stars, Zelthax explained. They called themselves the Korvath. They were strong, adaptable, and aggressive. They came from a planet where everything tried to kill them from the moment of birth. They evolved to be survivors, conquerors. When they met the peaceful civilizations of the galaxy, they saw only weakness to exploit. The hologram shifted, showing war, planets burning, species fleeing, entire civilizations falling before an enemy that never stopped, never surrendered, never showed mercy. The Korvath nearly destroyed the galaxy, Zelthax continued. It took an alliance of 200 species and a war lasting 3 centuries to stop them. Billions died. Whole worlds became uninhabitable. The scars remain to this day. Chen felt her stomach tighten as understanding dawned. And Earth is like their world. Earth is worse, Zelthax said bluntly. Your planet has higher gravity than the Korvath homeworld. More geological instability. More violent weather patterns. Your evolutionary history shows constant mass extinctions, followed by rapid diversification. Life on Earth doesn't just survive. It thrives through catastrophe. And humanity climbed to the top of this impossible world through cooperation and competition in equal measure. The crystalline being spoke next, its voice like chimes in the wind. When we detected your first radio signals, the assembly faced a choice. Contact you and risk creating another Korvath, or isolate you until we could determine if you were safe. We chose isolation. You chose to imprison an entire species for crimes they never committed, Chen said, her diplomatic training warring with her anger. We are not the Korvath. We are human. We deserve the chance to prove ourselves. And yet your history is filled with warfare, another alien interjected. This one resembling an upright insect with delicate antennae. Your species has fought continuously throughout its recorded history. You have developed weapons capable of destroying your own world. You compete for resources, territory, and ideological dominance. These are the exact traits that made the Korvath so dangerous. Dr. Kenji Yamamoto, standing nearby as a scientific advisor, stepped forward. Yes, we have fought wars. Yes, we have competed. But we have also cooperated. We've built international alliances. We've shared knowledge across borders. We've worked together to solve global problems. We've chosen peace when war would have been easier. You say this while maintaining armed military forces throughout your solar system, Zelthax observed. We detected your defense fleet immediately. Commander Torres, present via video link, spoke up. We prepared defenses because we didn't know what was coming. Any intelligent species would do the same, but notice that we haven't fired a single shot. We've chosen dialogue over violence. The aliens conferred among themselves in languages that the translation technology struggled to interpret. Finally, Zelthax turned back to the humans. The Assembly has authorized a testing protocol. We will present you with scenarios that the Korvath failed. If humanity responds differently, it will demonstrate you have evolved beyond your death world instincts. If you fail, Earth will be re-quarantined for another 1,000 years. What kind of tests? Chen asked cautiously. Situations that require sacrifice of immediate benefit for long-term stability, the crystalline being explained. Choices between protecting your own interests and ensuring fairness for others. Scenarios where violence would be effective but restraint is wiser. These are the challenges that define civilized species. Over the following weeks, humanity faced the tests. The Assembly presented dilemmas both philosophical and practical. They offered advanced technology but demanded that Earth share it equally among all nations, rather than letting the powerful monopolize it. Humanity created a global technology sharing treaty within days. They staged a scenario where a smaller, weaker alien species requested asylum on Earth, claiming persecution by a larger power. Humanity granted asylum and offered to mediate the dispute, even though siding with the stronger power would have been more advantageous. The scenario wasn't real, but humanity's response was genuine. They presented Earth with access to interstellar trade routes, but warned that human products might undercut alien businesses, causing economic harm to less competitive species. Humanity proposed fair trade agreements and economic support programs for affected civilizations before even being asked. Not every test went smoothly. There were debates, disagreements, and moments when humanity's darker instincts showed through. But each time humans chose cooperation over domination, fairness over exploitation, patience over aggression. Dr. Sarah Nkomo, observing the process, realized something profound. "We're not perfect," she told her team. "We still carry the marks of our Death World origins. But we've also learned something the Korvath never did. We've learned that strength means nothing without wisdom. That survival isn't enough if we lose our humanity in the process." On the final day of testing, Zelthax addressed the assembled human representatives. "You have surprised us," the alien coordinator admitted. "We expected a species that would struggle against its nature. Instead, we found a species that has already struggled and grown. You came from a world that should have made you monsters. Instead, it made you adaptable, creative, and remarkably empathetic. Does that mean we've passed?" Ambassador Chen asked. The crystalline being chimed its response. "It means you have earned provisional membership in the Galactic Assembly. Earth will be granted access to interstellar space, galactic knowledge databases, and trade networks. You will be monitored, and any aggressive expansion will result in immediate sanctions. But you have proven that Death World species can evolve beyond their origins." Not all the aliens agreed. The insect-like being spoke dissent. "This is a mistake. They are still young, still volatile. Give them another 1,000 years. But Zelthax overruled the objection. "We isolate species from Death Worlds because we fear them. But perhaps we should learn from them instead. Humanity survived impossible conditions through qualities we've bred out of ourselves: resilience, determination, the refusal to accept defeat. The galaxy has grown soft in our peace. Perhaps we need to remember that survival requires strength." An unexpected ally emerged from the alien delegation. A being that had remained silent throughout the process finally spoke. It resembled liquid metal in a constantly shifting form. "I am Ambassador Thorian of the Remnant Coalition. We are survivors of the Korvath War. We lost 17 worlds to their aggression, and I say humanity should be welcomed. They are not the Korvath. They have something our ancient enemies never possessed: the wisdom to know when not to fight." The endorsement from a Korvath war survivor carried weight. The Assembly's decision was made final. Earth would join the galactic community. As the alien delegation prepared to depart, James Okonkwo stood in the observation deck of his station, watching their ships begin to leave orbit. Some would stay as ambassadors and teachers, helping humanity navigate its first steps into a larger universe. But most were returning to their worlds, carrying news that the quarantined planet had been freed. "We spent 200 years calling out to the stars," James said to Elena, who had joined him, "and all along they were listening. They just weren't sure they wanted to answer." "Do you think we're ready?" Elena asked. "Really ready for what's out there?" James considered the question carefully. No species is ever truly ready. But we're human. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day, and we not only survived but thrived. If we can handle Earth, we can handle anything the galaxy throws at us. Commander Torres received new orders from Earth Command. The defense fleet would remain active, but its mission had changed. Instead of preparing for invasion, they would now escort human ships into the wider galaxy. Exploration, not warfare. Discovery, not conquest. In Geneva, Ambassador Chen Zhou began the real work of diplomacy. She met with representatives from dozens of alien civilizations, learning their customs, understanding their concerns, building the relationships that would define humanity's future among the stars. And across Earth, people looked up at the night sky with new understanding. The stars were no longer distant lights of uncertain meaning. They were destinations, homes to other beings, doorways to infinite possibility. The barrier that had caged humanity for 3,000 years was gone. The galaxy had finally let Earth join the cosmic community. And humanity, born from a death world, raised in isolation, would show the stars that survival wasn't about being the strongest or most aggressive. It was about being wise enough to know when to fight and brave enough to choose peace when it mattered most. The age of isolation was over. The age of humanity among the stars had just begun.